Thanks for tuning in to the Old Dirty Basement. Today's episode is on the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez. This is part 1 of 2 on the Night Stalker. So we had a special guest in for this, L.A. Ron, good buddy of mine that grew up out in that area and lived through this. So he had a lot of cool little stories and tidbits on the area and kind of what people went through during all this. I thought it turned out really well. Zap took us through the story and did a good job at that. And of course, me and Matt are here to comment and give our little 2 cents. So anyway, I think it turned out well. I really enjoyed it. I hope you're enjoying it. Speaking of which, if you are, don't forget to like and follow our show on whichever app you're on, whether that be Spotify, Apple, Google, however you're listening. Leave us that 5-star rating where available. And on Apple Podcasts, you can leave us a written review, which I see a few of you have already done, and that's really helping us out. Please don't be shy. Go ahead and leave us some good comments on there. We'd really appreciate it. And you can find us, like I said, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. Go over and follow us on there as well if you're enjoying the show. Let us know what you think. And sit back, relax, and enjoy The Night Stalker, Part 1.
This is the Old Dirty Basement, home to debauchery, madness, murder, and mayhem. A terror-filled train ride deep into the depths of the devil's den.
With a little bit of humor,
history,
and copious consciousness.
I'm your announcer, Shallow Throat. Your hosts are Dave, Matt, and Zap. I love you, Matthew McConaughey. All right, all right, all right.
hey, this is Dave,
Matt,
And Zap.
and welcome to the Old Dirty Basement.
where every week we cover a true crime.
Murder,
Or compelling story.
So sit back.
relax.
And comprehend.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the basement. We're down here with a special guest today. We have Dave, Zap, and
L.A. Ron's in the house.
L.A.
Yes,
Ron.
sir. Yes, sir. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, so Ron, he was on here for a movie review as well that's coming out. And growing up out in the LA area, he's going to have some knowledge on this this true crime we're covering today, this serial killer.
Yeah, this happened. You were in L.A. at the time.
Yes, I do remember the fear of the Night Stalker.
Yeah.
And is that what you guys called him there? Because he had a couple different names.
When it was in the media, he was the Night Stalker.
Night Stalker. Ooh, that's just creepy sounding too.
Yeah, for sure it is. But yeah, before we get into that, I had a little feedback. So people are really enjoying the show. As you all know, Zap's now in the intro. So he's like officially a part of the show. And a lot of people like him. I mean, I've had all great feedback. I'm sure Matt's had the same.
I heard some things.
It feels good to have a permanent couch cushion down here in the basement.
For sure. So one of our listeners reached out to me. He's really enjoying it. He said, hey, I like when he says, this is Jason, a guy who listens all the time. He says, I like when he says, she's a saint. She's a saint. That's from the Anchorman movie. I said, I don't know if that's where he got that from or not. I didn't know that was in there. He sent me a YouTube clip of Vince Vaughn saying that woman was a saint. Is that where you got that from?
That is correct.
Oh, look.
Oh,
he knew.
stolen verbiage.
No.
Oh,
but
that's like-
that's what this is all about. I mean, really, as we sit back and we're talking about, old vintage classic movies.
Right.
I mean, I was a child of a television and VCR babysitter.
Mm-hmm.
So all I knew was movies and television. So that ends up just coming into my lexicon. My dialect is so often, so many times, just movie quotes. It just comes out.
Well, he picked up on it. I didn't realize that. He sent me the clip. It's got to be. I said, I'll ask him, ask him on air.
Yeah,
So,
the producers of Old Dirty Basement are in no way responsible for stolen verbiage.
no, but he liked it. And, I just learned something new. So that's cool. We confirmed that. So
Well done.
Confirmed.
Yeah. So another one, Juice, the Juice Man. He's been on here. Juice Man came on for a couple episodes, and I'm sure he'll be back at some point. So he did some work up there with the Canadian, with the currency exchange. So we did the Mark Twitchell, and we were talking about the $40 Canadian dollars that he paid for the Mazda, the car that he bought, and we were talking about the conversion rate. And he wanted to let Zap know. He said, "Tell Zap," because we were talking about, and Matt. He said that the 40 Canadian dollars would roughly be 30 US dollars. So that's to give you an idea.
Thank you, Juice.
This is good to know.
Yeah.
So as a CPA by trade, all I do is deal in, not all, but for the most part, deal in historical stuff. Because once it's happened, now it's accountable.
Right.
conversion, I mean, that's real-time stuff, and I can't keep up with that.
I got you.
So,
But
thank you, Juice.
Yeah, we like
Juice
to
Man.
thank the listeners. And okay, Zap, you're new. You're getting you're getting out of your sea legs there, and some people they did the same to us. They just
Feels good.
yeah.
I see
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
It's getting very fluid.
So one last one here. One of our listeners, Maureen, she's a lactation consultant. So we had talked about in the Jeffrey Dahmer breastfed. We were talking about the McDahmer triad, as he
yes,
called it. The
That's
McDahmer
right.
triad.
Yes, very good.
To bring all our listeners back on track, the McDahmer triad was breastfed, beating animals, and playing with fire.
I don't think breastfed was on there.
No, it was
It
not.
wasn't, but we talked about it.
Yes.
And we said, wonder if there was any connection. She said, if you ever have questions about that,
That's true.
reach out to her.
That's
So,
absolutely true. The being breastfed was not part of the McDahmer triad.
Well, thank you. That was also very interesting. Why didn't we not touch on that? Thank you, Maureen.
we should have reached out. She said, anytime you have questions, she'd be happy to come on and talk. And, that's just many of the people that reach out to me, whether it be in person or via text or email or
Were
whatever.
any of us breastfed? Do we know this?
I was not.
I was not.
I was not either.
I don't
Yeah.
think I was.
You were not.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's wacky stuff.
Right.
Especially in the 70s. I mean, that shit got to be expensive.
Yeah.
But what is the formula like? Aren't they like holding people hostage for that now?
But think about it. Back then, it was more important to buy what they tell you to have as
Yes.
opposed to the natural stuff.
Yeah, because that stuff had probably like all kinds of chemicals in it that were really good for us.
Right.
Sure.
But yeah, that's just
yeah, good fact.
That's just a few of the listeners. Also, shout out to Heather, Mark. There's a bunch of them that reach out and always tell me
Thank you.
they're enjoying it, and we're glad you're listening. And anybody else that I missed. But anyway, this one today, I'm real excited to get into. The Night
Real quick
Stalker.
though, that before you get into the Night Stalker, I just like that little section or snippet we did. If anybody like any week has call-ins, I really like answering the call-ins before we get
Well,
into.
I get a
The human
story.
interaction.
Yeah.
I get a lot. I mean, L.A. Ron listens. He tells me all the time. Like we talk at work, and he tells me stuff that he's like, oh, you guys are talking about that, blah blah blah.
Yes,
Or like-
it gets very exciting listening to you guys and the feedback and the chemistry you guys have together.
Oh,
It's
thank
pretty,
you,
pretty
thank you.
wild.
But Ron and I are friends. We know each other outside of this, and we converse all the time. And he's enjoying the show, and he gives me a lot of good pointers and feedback, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, any
The pe-
constructive criticism as we're talking tonight, just pop on in there and
Well, that-
say, "Hey, dude, that sucked," or
Yeah.
"That was pretty good."
Well, that's why he's
I
here,
like
man.
that.
He's
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
gonna school us on this LA stuff because, like I said, I've never been further west than Pittsburgh, and I know Zap travels a lot more than me. Obviously, Matt, you've been to other places, but
Yeah, Seattle.
I'm pretty
I've
shielded
been to
here, though.
Seattle in Washington State, but never down into Cali.
right. So the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez. So this is one that I'm sure most people have heard of. Netflix did a nice 3-part documentary about a year ago. I don't know. Did you guys see that?
I had no idea of
Yes,
this.
it's great. It's
Very good.
really, really well done. I watched it when it first came out. I actually watched it again to freshen up, just so I had some background stuff. And it was on as far as like reading up on it as well. But the Netflix one is really good.
But it really told the stories of the detectives and the police that were involved in it, and then like their stories, their background, like how much it frustrated him, much like the last true crime we did, like how the cops are just like, man, what is going on?
So was this? I mean, you're not really spoiling anything. Was this set up like a dramatic series, or was it set up like a biographical series? And but so I get if you have facts and stuff, okay, there's biographical to that. But I mean, like the
Real live
approach.
actors and stuff.
Yeah, that's it. So live actors, or was it old footage?
It was
stuff
all
like that.
it was all footage, and actually, I remember when it came out, there was a lot of backlash because I think they used actual crime photos.
They did use the crime photos.
And people were like kind of upset about it because, I mean, they were violent scenes. Now they did X out the people's faces somewhat, but you would see, they would show you glimpses of the legs and like body parts, maybe not the
Gotcha.
full on brutal.
Gotcha.
But I mean, these murders are brutal. I'm sure there'll be a warning here that I'll put at the beginning and, or like on the actual podcast description, but like the Dahmer one and other ones, we're dealing with sick individuals and it's violence.
But I thought the taping that they did of the eyes in the Netflix one like looked even more
Even worse.
menacing. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was very like I don't think they should have showed any faces at all.
Mm-hmm.
But the way they did that with the tape, like X'd out eyes and mouth, and
They were real photos, I believe, intertwined with reenactments.
Sure,
But it's hard
sure.
to tell what's real, what's
Yeah.
not.
Like
But
a History Channel type thing, or like that thing they did on TMI.
Mm-hmm.
That would be 3 Mile Island.
yes, with footage, that's the same thing. It was news footage and all that.
that was
Did you
my
guys ever get the answer to how many kills it takes to make a serial killer?
Well, I did actually look into that, but you have the answer. Go ahead, because it was
I don't have the answer.
It was
the way you said that, I thought
I just
wow, that
listened
was
to the
very
show, and I
deflating.
remember that was a question that came up.
It has something to do with so many murders with a cooling off period in between. So it's like if you murder, and then take like a month off in between or something. Like I forget how it goes. So if you murder somebody and then not again for like 4 years, not again for like 8 years, you're not a serial killer. But I think it was something like it's within a certain amount of time if you continue to murder,
Repeatedly,
yeah.
Okay.
Well, remember we talked about that too with gangsters, like, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, they would go and kill 100 people, but they weren't considered serial killers.
Right. That's one of our previous episodes that I was involved with. I was just wondering, the guy there was killing multiple people. Would he be considered a serial killer because he's just randomly killing people?
I think there's something else that has to do with a serial killer in that they kill without regard or without motive. And by that, I mean, they're not going after a specific group. They're just killing to kill.
Without motive, okay.
Yeah, without any kind of underlying cause or underlying bias or underlying prejudice or underlying, again, force, something that they're going.
But hang on a second. Most of these serial killers that you guys are going over either hate the individuals or their sex or something like that, or a particular type of person. So they do have underlying reasons to target their victims.
Do they?
I think most of them do.
So like saying from say a Hell's Angel kills a bunch of warlocks or whatever, another
Not a
type
serial killer.
Okay.
Not a serial killer.
All right. Jack Bundy goes out and kills a bunch of dudes, bunch of guys standing on the corner because they're attractive to him.
Was that Ted?
I
Or
just said
Ted
Jack.
Bundy, yeah.
I said
Well, like,
Jack. I
I
said
mean,
Jack
maybe
to
his
be
friends
random.
called him Jack. I
He
don't
wanted
know.
to protect the innocent.
But there we go.
It says here, a serial killer, a person who kills typically 3 or more people to service an abnormal psychological condition, and the murder is taking place over more than a month and including a significant period of time between them.
Okay, there
So
we go.
I don't know if that makes
So
sense.
Sammy the Bull Gravano is considered a gangster, not a serial killer.
I guess it depends on if he meets this criteria.
Criteria.
You know what I mean? And like I said, I knew it had something to do with like cooling off period. Like a lot of those guys are killing out of necessity, whereas if they're killing
Necessity?
because like if they're in that gang
A mental.
like he's
So,
got
yeah, like what he had just said, there's an underlying condition.
Right.
Right,
Something
mental.
that makes that equate, that makes them
Right.
tick and makes them want to go do that or have to go do that.
like they get physically turned on by it.
Not necessarily turned on, just satisfied.
some people, yeah.
Satisfied.
I think that's much like the McDahmer method. I think it's very, I don't think they really know,
Yeah.
because you're not a serial killer. You don't have a mind like that. So you can't really
relate.
Yeah, I don't think you can pick it apart.
It might
and
be
say,
a hunger, like a hunger they have.
Yeah,
that
you
they
wouldn't
gotta
know.
feed.
I just think like a normal thinking
Like a drug
person,
addict
a
or alcoholic.
a normal thinking person cannot comprehend or understand why those people have those drives. But, I mean, some people, they're just wired that way or whatever. And we're going to get into that. Ron and I were talking earlier this morning about this particular case and some things that happened in the childhood linking to why he is the way he is.
It's so looking at this as soon as we're getting into this guy's childhood, this goes far beyond the McDahmer triangle.
Right.
This is immediate. You know that something bad is going to go awry in this kid's life. You just know it. It has nothing to do with maybe he was playing with matches. It has nothing to do with maybe he was kicking a dog. No, this is, well, hell, let's just dive in. Let's
get into it.
Yeah,
this.
let's
Yeah,
get it going.
go for it.
Get it going.
Yeah, so Ricardo, a.k.a. Richard Ramirez, was born in El Paso, Texas on February 29th, 1960, to his father and mother, Julian and Mercedes Ramirez, the youngest of their 5 children. His father, a Mexican national and a former Ciudad Juarez policeman, who later became a laborer in the Addison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad, was an alcoholic, was prone to fits of anger that often resulted in physical abuse towards his wife and children.
Well, there's the beginning.
Well, hang
There's
on a
the
second.
beginning. Look,
Think
here's a
about
gr-
this, though.
Here's a great beginning. Richard began smoking marijuana and drinking alcohol at the age of 10.
I don't think that's a big deal.
10.
Can you prove that?
That's not the big deal.
Can anybody prove
Here's
that?
the big deal. His dad goes from being a police officer to like a handyman.
Yep.
That's a lot of power lost, to where his frustration with losing his power and authority, he might take out on his kids and wife.
Like beating them and stuff.
Yes,
Right.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. He went from a policeman to working on the railroad
as a handyman.
And I mean, he was an alcoholic.
And it drove him to drink.
No wonder he was prone to fits of anger.
But that's where they start off. Usually the kid's dad, a lot of the serial killers, the dad wasn't a very good dad, mostly alcoholic, abuser, which was all there. Starting the drugs and alcohol at 10 is young.
That's young.
But
For you guys.
Even before
You
that,
guys aren't urban people. You guys are suburb people. So I know kids that
What urban, like 8, 7, 8, 9?
Hey, listen, I'm just telling you. I know kids that started
Start
doing
early.
crazy stuff like that at
Wow.
an early age. And you got to remember the years, too. Don't forget, this is back in the 60s.
Oh, so the
where-
parents too was like, oh, the kid just he's smoking a cigarette, it'll be all right. Or,
Well, much like we talked about in the Dahmer one, we were talking about not knowing a kid at 14 that would be a prostitute. We were talking about like we didn't know anybody, but maybe in an area where.
Oh,
you
my
know,
gosh. That's
yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
12, 13
That's what
in
we're-
L.A., oh, that's all day long.
It's
You're
not-
middle-aged by then.
Right.
For some, yeah. Burn
Right.
out.
But there also was something in there about, I guess he had the mother working in, they were trying to connect things. And this is what Ron and I were talking about. He was bringing up some stuff. The mother was working in a factory with chemicals and inhaling the chemicals
I
while
don't
she
think
was
so.
pregnant. They tried to bring that up. And also there was like a head injury that he had at 2. I
Multiple.
think.
He had
Multiple. One,
two
yeah.
head injuries, yeah.
There was one where I guess he fell and like cracked his head really bad when he was 2. And then another one was with a swing.
A swing. He ran into a swing and it cracked him in the hip. pretty
Yeah.
good.
And they were trying to,
what was the swing made of? Was it a metal?
Plastic. The old
Yeah, but
plastic swings.
Yeah, but I mean,
I think he
Somebody
cracked
was swinging on it and he
he
ran into
them
and
while
it-
they were swinging back. Pow.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Right.
I thought like a swing just flapping around. Boom.
No.
Well, much like these, you know, they're looking back and trying to look, well, what could have caused this? What could have caused, you know, environmental factors or, you know, stuff like that. They had with Dahmer, I think his dad was saying about the surgery he had,
Yeah.
and the
Being
anesthesia.
put
And that's
under.
when he changed and stuff. So it was just these things that they said maybe would connect. But I think for me, the thing we'll probably get to is when his cousin gets back from Vietnam. And his cousin gets back from Vietnam, and he's like 12 or 13 at the
So
time.
yeah, exactly that. So 2 years into drinking and smoking the pot at the young age of 12.
But hang on a second. Hang on. Okay.
I'm sorry, I had to go back to it.
At 2 and 5, he has his bad head injury that causes him to have seizures. So maybe they're ahead of the game, and he's having the cannabis to calm down his seizures.
We have
right,
discovered that many states do prescribe to that. They do prescribe to that.
So you're making fun of him for smoking the weed, but we don't know why. And maybe that helps with his seizures.
Oh, to be clear, not making fun of him smoking the weed, not at all. Reminding everyone that at the age of 10, he was smoking the weed and drinking already.
Did the doctor did they give the parents consent? Did he have his card?
I'm not sure if they had the card back then
That was
didn't have cards
okay.
back
in
then.
1970.
Yes, no.
But
Probably
weed
not.
wasn't a big thing back there. Remember, they're doing LSD and mushrooms and all that stuff back then. Like so weed is like a minor thing back then. Volume and weed is not that big.
I think
a deal.
mom and dad were smoking the weed and they just left it. And
Sure.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
he might have needed to keep these seizures down. You got to remember now, these are underprivileged people who don't have money to have medication to stop them from having seizures.
But you go back, you were saying this other stuff. I'm still with I think serial killers are made. I don't think they're born.
I think they're
that way.
conditioned.
Condition is a good word
And that's
for
what-
it.
that's what
That
we'll get
forms
into.
them into what they
Makes
come
the
to be.
possibility that if they slip off that rock, that they
Yeah.
could go bad.
Yeah.
And that's what this next part, I think, for me, is this next part I think Zap's going to get into is the one that I think kind of triggered everything. But
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as we were just getting to it now at 12 years old, you know, his cousin, Mike Ramirez, had been in Vietnam, and now he's
Miguel.
back, he's back home. And I'm sorry,
Miguel Ramirez.
Miguel for our
Mike is the Americanized.
Mexican
Version.
Juarez fans.
But he might have identified as Mike
Could
or
be.
or her.
or her.
It's possible.
Yeah.
So cousin Miguel comes back from Vietnam, and it's interesting that in every certain term, he himself, Miguel or Mike, depending on how he referred to himself, could actually have been considered a serial killer himself.
Yeah.
Very much so.
I think he was.
Considering what we would now call war crimes over there, where he was raping women and killing them and doing all kinds of stuff to them in their bodies.
Dismembering them and decapitating them, and then taking pictures, Polaroids.
Necrophilia.
And not only did he take the pictures, he would show these pictures to poor Richard here. Hey, look what I did. Check out what I did over in Vietnam.
Like, look at this lady here with no head, and we had sexy time. And I think for
12 or 13,
Ramirez is like, what the hell is going on?
Well, he's developing too at that point, like probably
sensations.
Yes. So like that's what I was wondering.
As far as I had read, what I can see is that he wasn't necessarily, disgusted by it. He was instead just fascinated by it.
Yeah.
But not only that, Miguel comes back a war hero and a Green Beret. So he's decorated. So people are looking up to this guy like he's some type of Superman. And he says, these are all the things I did over there to make me this Superman or this super army guy.
Right. So, yeah, he's now a big influence on, young Richard at the time.
For sure.
And definitely.
And to follow up on what Ron had mentioned. So not only is his, again, he's a decorated war hero. People look up to him. Those people include Richard, who in turn, Miguel starts teaching him all the cool stuff that Green Berets know how to do.
Skills.
Yes.
Killing with stealth, staying hidden in the dark, especially at night, ninja stuff. Yeah. So there's that. And there's a turning point now in Richard's life where, as his father is drinking, beating the old lady, beating him up, he would start sleeping in the local cemetery.
Which is odd.
So that's odd. However,
it's an escape. It's a way out.
I would argue that if you're ever looking for the safest place possible, you're going to be at the cemetery.
And quiet.
The most safest, quietest place in the world has got to be the cemetery.
I mean, everybody's sleeping. It's just nice and quiet.
Right.
They're just sleeping.
But yeah, like I said, that definitely had to start molding his thought process and connecting sex and satisfaction,
stimulation. The dopamine is starting to connect with the wrong images and seeing different things that's giving him that high that he wants.
And then what happened next on May 4th, 1973? Do you have any of that, Zap?
I do. So
that's not helping either.
No, it's not helping either when cousin Miguel shoots his wife in the face.
In front of him, yeah.
With a handgun.
Right in front of Richard. Yes, with the handgun.
Yep. Takes the gun out the fridge and pops her in the face.
Right in the face.
See, where did you get the fridge? Like, I was reading about that. I didn't see the fridge part.
That's where they kept their gun, in the fridge.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
It was stashed in the fridge.
Yeah, like freeze the...
That's interesting.
Refrigerator,
mechanism.
Not freezer, refrigerator.
Yeah, okay. Cold mechanism. Yeah, I guess you're all right.
Fortunately, though, cousin Miguel, was later found not guilty by virtue of insanity. PTSD.
Oh, wow.
Basically the equivalent of PTSD at the time.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, that's what Ron was saying, how he was a war hero in that time when you look at
everything
war heroes.
Going on.
Yeah, and when they do things here that you would look like, man, that shit's crazy. That was every day, regular.
For him, he's programmed and this is what he's doing and he can't turn it off.
So that's why I think the PTSD got him off the hook. Yeah.
Yes. And probably decorated war hero. He did all this for our country. But little did they know all of his, dirty laundry in the back closet.
That closet keeps getting more and more full as time goes on.
Michael Jackson would say, just keep it in the closet.
Keep it in the closet.
Yeah.
So drinking and smoking by 10. Looking at murdered pictures of murdered and decapitated, mutilated Vietnamese women at 12. 13, watches his decorated war hero cousin shoot his wife in the face.
Like what he eating dinner.
And then right after the shooting, okay, maybe we can turn this kid's life around. He ends up moving in with his older sister Ruth and her husband Roberto.
Very good.
Sounds like a good idea at the time. No. Turns out old Roberto was an obsessive peeping Tom. Peeping Tom.
That's great. Yeah, that's a part I didn't know if it was in there.
What's even worse, he took Richard along with him.
Yes.
He said, "Look, this is how you do it. Look,
right.
You someday. Now let's see. The kid was born in 60, and now he's 14, so it's 74. All right, so
McFly was a peeping Tom.
Yeah,
he didn't turn out that bad.
Someday there's going to be a movie that comes out, and it's going to include this guy that goes back to the 50s.
Yeah.
He sees his dad on this tree, and he's doing. No, this is him doing it, like actually doing it. Like this is ridiculous.
They used to call them their voyeuristic walks.
The voyeuristic walks. Yeah. Okay. Well, either way, it was the creepy walk.
So this kid's basically getting introduced to like every vice.
He's being conditioned. He's being very conditioned to be a bad man.
Mm-hmm.
And then he starts popping the LSD.
Yeah. So by the time he's 14, he started using LSD. And at that point, he and his cousin Miguel, who was, again, now he's out of prison.
Because Miguel's out.
He's out. Or out of, not even prison. I'm sorry. He went to a mental hospital for a year and change. Now he's back to drinking, doing drugs with cousin Miguel. And it's actually at this point in his formative years, he turns to, not to God, but no, Satan. He develops this interest in Satan and the occult.
Not today, Jesus.
This is all going sideways really quickly.
But it could be that he identifies with the things that he likes are bad. Mm-hmm. And from the church perspective, he knows it's all wrong, so he likes it, doesn't want to change. So, hey, I'm going to go hang with this dude who does like what I do or what I like.
Well, didn't he meet some woman that turned him on to that? Wasn't there some girl he met, and she was in this like small group of people that were into like satanic stuff?
I didn't hear much about that part of it.
Him.
He met a Satanist guy who wrote a book later on,
but I don't know about as a kid, like where he, like maybe like Ron said, maybe he just correlated what he liked with,
because he was supposed to go to church a lot. His family was a church going family.
Yeah, his parents were good. He wants to be bad, and who's the worst bad person you could ever be? Satan.
Right. Yeah.
Well, as we get into these formative years, so comes puberty. And along with puberty comes, uncontrollable
urges,
throbbing urges. Mm-hmm. So here's this guy with this, So here's this guy with this, not the best upbringing. Now all of a sudden,
that's mild.
His, his jockey shorts are getting tight every so often.
Right.
So, dude, in his mind is now at this point, he's, as he's getting these sexual fantasies, he's now correlating that with all of this terrible upbringing he's had.
Mutilation, rape, bondage.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not to the murder yet. Maybe it's more of the bondage and S&M and things of that nature, and the nudity and stuff like that, to where he's being conditioned to think that all these tie together. His body reacts, and he thinks this is how he gets the reaction.
Well, yeah, he was showing pictures like at a very, very young age of a woman naked that he's focusing on sexually, but there's no head.
He might not be focusing, but at that age, come on, when you're young, you don't know why your body's doing it. It just does it.
Yeah.
And you're kind of questioning and trying to figure out what's going on.
And that's what you're seeing in your head.
Right. So when he does the math, he's like, I need this, and that to equal that.
I see where you're going there, and I'm actually picking it up. Now, stop me if I'm wrong. So if he's a little kid and he sees, again, this horror that he's grown up with, let's just pretend that his only influence was... His two influences were his dad beating his mom, but the bigger one was his cousin Miguel. So as he sees his cousin Miguel, and he's now interested and fascinated in this, and that creates an excitement within him.
Correct.
Later, once puberty kicks in, well, now the excitement kicks in on its own, so that must mean, if I'm excited, I must be looking at or thinking of those murders and rapes and the whatever.
Those images.
Correct.
I like those images or what that looks like.
So it's like the chicken made the egg, but now the egg is making the chicken.
Correct.
Okay.
It's cyclical. It's becoming cyclical, which is usually what happens with these guys. They get into this circle to where they got to feed that habit. It's like a habit. I got to get high to get better, to get high to get better. And it keeps circling.
You got to eat.
Yep. Vampire. Got to get that blood.
Mm-hmm. So where do you get this job at?
So at this point, he's getting into puberty. He also needs to get some money in his pocket. So the kid gets a job at the Hotel Motel Holiday Inn. Say what?
If your girl starts acting up.
Yeah, her friend.
You got to call her friend.
You got to call her friend, yeah.
So an enterprising young man, capitalistic young man, he would get duplicate passkeys to their rooms and basically rob their rooms when they were there. Or sometimes, when they weren't there. Or sometimes when they actually were there. And so again, now we're getting into, so he was trying to put money in his pocket, but let's not forget again, puberty, the sadism and bondage and murder and mutilation and rape. But all that stuff is in his head. So at one point, at least one occasion, he had molested 2 kids in an elevator at the hotel. But he was never reported or prosecuted. Never.
But before that, let's go back to the point where he's doing this pass key and he's breaking into these rooms. This is kind of, he's learned, that's a learned behavior for him, because as he gets older, that was part of his MO, but he's just getting that. He's like, hey, I know a way, like, you know, I can get in there, do what I need to do, get out. He's been relatively safe doing it. So I think that's something that he looked on as part of his Night Stalkerism.
Conditioning.
I can see that, but I can see him. I think it's more just, hey man, I'm working at a hotel.
Opportunity.
Yeah, but it was
an opportunity.
It's the opportunity.
An easy opportunity, but it was part of something that he knew. Like he went back to. I think he was like, hey, I can just break in.
Right.
Maybe. Yes, it's possible. I'm just thinking that the guy's going to either break into houses, or hell, I'm going to get a job at a hotel because I'm just going to break into things.
Yeah, it's easy.
I don't, I want to steal more money, or I want more. I want more. I want more. So I'm just going to do that. And how decidedly convenient that I had just have all of these constant fresh people coming in with their own fresh money, and I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that.
Right.
I don't know. I'm no scientist. I don't know how this works.
You guys kind of jumped past his high school, though. You guys went from, smoking weed, 12, 13, then you guys jumped into the hotel. But, I mean, in high school, he was an athlete. He was like a star quarterback. Did you guys read about that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, he was a star quarterback and was very good. And at that time, his dad started to like him because he was very famous on the football field.
I didn't know this fact.
Yeah, so he was doing real good. Star quarterback. He was according to the women, he was somewhat good looking. So here's this kid. Kind of had a rough upbringing, becomes a football player, starts to perform well. Dad's starting to look up to him. Now he's getting the heroism, meaning his dad's liking him. But there's an incident on the football field. Middle of a game, has an epileptic seizure. Falls on the field. Coach pulls him, says you're off the team. Because back in that day, they didn't have the medicine to stop it, so the coach didn't want anything to do with it. Then his dad went back to not liking him and thinking he was an embarrassment because he was embarrassed because the kid's flopping around on the football field in the middle of a game.
And those could have been from the early head injuries.
It was he was diagnosed as an epileptic, so he had seizures. And they kept it under. That's why I'm thinking the marijuana or weed he was smoking was trying to keep that calm and down, because I think there is a correlation to where that does help. But when you're in the middle of a game and you get high stress and your oxygen level's low, boom, he has a seizure. Coach doesn't want to deal with it because it's a financial risk to him and the team, so he kicks him off the team. No matter how good he is, I'm not dealing with that. Dad's embarrassed. Dad gets angry. Dad's no longer popular again, and he goes right back to the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, wow. I didn't know much about. I didn't know about high school.
That's wild.
Yeah. Well, what was he like? Like socially, I guess. Like you said, quarterback. I guess he had like girlfriends.
He was attractive, but he was not very social. And I've asked people, and they like today, hey, you think this guy's? Oh yeah, he's somewhat attractive. So he was not super fit, but he was a athletic person. And we don't know how big the football team was or what they're, what
he was the only guy that could pick a ball up with a hand to throw.
Exactly. So, but the thing is that for him to elevate and then be rescinded back down. So he went up, got, love from his dad, and then his dad started kicking him again.
Well, Texas, I'd say, is probably pretty good because they take their football pretty
serious.
Yep. If it's El Paso, I mean,
Texas that's not a small town football right there.
I don't know though, but I did not know. That's interesting to know that he was, athletic and did all that. Everything that I heard, and that it pretty much jumped from the head injuries and that, and then the cousin basically to the hotel stuff, and then into the current crimes. But that's an interesting tidbit. And
it is, because then he had that.
It shows you another side of him that people don't know anything about,
Or like that athleticism, I guess, to be able to, I don't know,
to spider monkey his way through windows.
Yeah, windows and stuff.
Yeah. Or run or away, manhandle or whatever.
Right.
Yep. Well, anyway, alas, his employment at the Holiday Inn ended after he attempted to rape a woman in her hotel room and was caught in the act by her husband.
Yeah, he went out to get ice, right? The husband went out to get ice.
That's what I hear, yep. And now, look, the husband, got his licks in. Like, he beat Ramirez up at the scene. Look, you come in here, hotel clerk, raping my wife. Yeah, of course I'm going to start beating on you. But the criminal charges were dropped when the couple never returned to press charges.
But what's the part where he dropped out of high school in ninth grade? So he just played,
I'm guessing,
freshman football?
I mean, I'm guessing that football career ended short. Because to what I'm reading is that he dropped out in the ninth grade.
Yeah, that's what I read also. And in 1982, and at the age of 22, he moved and settled in California.
So I'm sorry, he dropped out in the ninth grade. Later, in 1982, at the age of 22.
Right. He moved to L.A.
He moved to California.
Moved to California.
And once you get out to California, that's when you find that sweet powder. He started to use the
Cocaine.
which became, his go-to drug.
He's alone.
Man, he's alone, and
drug of
when
choice,
you're on
cocaine.
that powder, you don't have a job, you got to find money,
Right.
That's why you steal stuff.
and so that's when he started thieving and burglarizing. Basically, just what do you got?
He was in seventh grade.
7th grade, he played football.
Seventh grade. He played.
Okay, yeah,
right.
because it says he dropped out in 9th, so
Right.
he's probably
But that's junior high school for the for the West Coast.
Yeah.
So we had junior high school. It just said high school, but it's junior high.
Junior high. But still, I mean, at any rate, he was an athlete and he was playing ball and doing something.
It's junior high, I think, around here too.
Yep,
Like
6th, 7th,
6th, 7th, and 8th.
or 7th, 8th, and 9th, maybe.
Yeah.
No,
Something-
6th, 7th, and 8th. 9th through 12th is usually high school.
Well, some
here.
high school, some
We go.
high schools were junior high was up to 9th.
Ours was 7, 8, 9.
Yeah,
in
because
California.
if you remember, like our freshman year for football, we'd play other teams that were junior varsity teams, or not junior. I'm sorry, junior high teams, like East Junior. As a 9th grader at our high school, we would play a junior high school because it would be 7th, 8th, and 9th. So yeah, it just depends, I guess, on where you're at. But that's very interesting. Even though it's a couple years younger, that he was an athlete. He did try sports and tried to.
Yeah, he was athletic. That's
Right.
right. Yeah, but and then again, what Zap said and stuff, like be jumping through windows, crawling out of things, running.
He had to be athletic to some extent,
Yes.
obviously. So where are we? Oh yeah, so
22 now in LA.
1982. He's 22. Dude moves out to California, and he's just basically living, hand to mouth. Whatever he can do is the best that he can do. But he's just like a nomad at this point, just a gypsy,
A wanderer.
He's
Yeah.
he's a gypsy.
And he's staying at. Is this where he's staying at the Cecil, the hotel?
Is
that
he?
later?
I thought at this point in his life, all I know is that he's just bouncing. He's moving from north to south, back and forth, robbing, snorting that powder, feeding that monkey on his back.
I know they do reference in the entry that he was staying at the Cecil. Now, I don't know if it was the whole time, and that's a hotel that you can kind of check in and check out. So maybe it's something where
Paid by the hour type,
Yeah.
or where a lot of
Or-
people lived. I think in LA, you see in a lot of movies. I don't know this for a fact, but a lot of people lived in. I think in Florida too. They live in like the little.
it's a transient,
little
like you're
hotels.
in there,
Yeah.
you're going.
Transient hotels.
Yeah,
yeah.
you're gonna
Yeah.
move in and out. They actually had a documentary about the Cecil Hotel on Netflix as well, because that's like a notorious hotel. It's supposed to be haunted. There's supposed to be all kinds of crazy stuff that happened there. But he was known to stay there, and he was, like you said, kind of making ends meet by robbing, stealing, to whatever he had to do. He didn't have like a normal job or anything like that.
And they
His
also said he
job
was-
just basically.
He was very like stinky. He didn't have any kind
Good
of
hygiene.
Good
Yeah,
hygiene
his
was not
hygiene
good.
was horrible. His teeth started decaying. All he ate was like chocolate and
Sweets. They ate a lot
Yes,
of
sweets.
Was he that?
I'm sorry. So coming out of your mouth, like the way you said stinky, like, he was stinky.
He was a stinky
So
dude.
it reminded me of Nacho Libre. So have you guys seen Nacho
Oh,
Libre?
that's great.
Jack
Yeah.
Black.
Yeah. So
Hey, going back to jab at my heritage, but
sister,
it's fine.
not at all. So
Yeah,
Sister
okay.
Encarnacion says to what's his
To
name?
Nacho Libre.
To Nacho, where are your robes? And he said, "Oh, they're in the wash. They were stinky."
Stinky.
So
But the dude was a stinky dude. I don't know how else to say it.
It was hygiene.
Not good hygiene. Yeah, Ron jumped in.
Yep.
He
Bad
wasn't
poor
very
hygiene.
hygienic.
And I do know at that hotel that
Stinky.
he was stinky, but they said that he was
Stinky.
he would have prostitutes and stuff, and he would pay for sex, never harming them or
See,
doing anything.
that's
we don't love them hoes.
yeah.
out the dough. That's a hard job. I give them. I couldn't believe walking into this dude's like.
But you don't know what they look like or what they were, and they're there to make money.
They're hard up.
But another
Ramirez
thing,
breaking out a 5-spot.
but it might. But see, he might have gave drugs. You don't know. And a lot of drug dealers or drug users
You're right.
have poor hygiene.
Yeah.
Is they don't give.
And
a
if he
shit.
goes to back then I don't think they're
Teeth
really on
start
that
rotting
meth.
out?
Yes, the meth, the teeth go
meth.
first, and meth is real cheap.
Yeah.
Well, look at that dude on Menace to Society. He's like, "Oh, look, all I got is this bag of burgers. Man, I suck your dick."
Yeah, for the bag of burgers. Then he shot that dude.
Then he got shot and then took the burgers.
Yeah.
And then he said,
Oh,
"Anybody
no.
want a burger?"
Oh no.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted the burger.
Well, back to that movie. Yeah, I guess that proves too. We were talking about if that other one was his first murder. To him, it was just nonchalant, kind of
Yep.
like boom,
Boom, no
done,
big deal.
Move along.
Next.
Yeah.
Life
But yeah,
doesn't matter.
Yeah, but this guy here, he's staying. I think, like I said, I don't know for a fact. I know at one point he was at the Cecil Hotel. He's, like you said, basically robbing, stealing, doing whatever, selling drugs, probably, you know, all that to make ends meet. And he was, like I said, he was partaking in the prostitutes and doing all that. And he never harmed them, though. That's what they would say.
Right. But also, he was considered a good-looking dude. So until he opened his mouth. I think they even mentioned that during interviews that the street workers thought he was semi-attractive until he opened his mouth, or you smelled him, and then they were like, ugh.
Yeah, they knew. Well,
and do they kiss, though? Most street workers don't kiss you anyway, so they ain't got to deal with it.
If you kissing prostitutes.
That's the rule. They got that rule.
Yeah,
they don't kiss.
But Julia Roberts has that rule, I think.
Well, no, that's the street rule.
Yeah.
She's from the streets.
Yeah, she is.
No, she's not.
No.
So after a year and change, maybe 2 years of living in California, this is when the madness sets in.
We're talking like June 28th?
So June 28th is when it was
documented, or
yeah.
But because we can go back to, unless you want to say you want to do that one now. You're talking about the young girl?
I'm talking about breaking into houses and how this and basically I'm just basically talking about so how murders start, and then I'm linking this to how to breaking into houses. But his first official murder was a young girl by the name of Mai Leng. This is a 9-year-old Chinese American girl. Now this poor girl is just rolling around, hanging out with her 8-year-old brother.
Hang on a second. Isn't that up north, though? Up in San Francisco?
Is it?
Yes.
That's
up
where
north.
That's where this happened?
That was up north, I believe. Yes. Because they said that he went back and forth between San Francisco. He lived nomadically between San Francisco and Los Angeles County.
Okay.
But I think the first L.A. murder was the June 28th, 1984, was the 79-year-old woman.
The first one that they linked him
to.
Yeah,
because the first murder was coveted to where nobody knew about it till later on.
Yes.
Way later.
It was by DNA.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They
So
got
he
the
was
9-year-old.
he was playing he was probably practicing his craft, or whatever you want to call this.
Well, whatever he was doing. He was practicing something, because this particular murder of this Chinese American girl wasn't really linked to Ramirez until 2009.
DNA.
Long time after. But this poor girl, her and her brother were just looking around for a lost dollar bill. They were just looking. They've lost $1.
It was like the basement of an apartment building or something.
It was
like that.
It was in a basement
Where they have a
of an
laundry
apartment
room
building.
type.
Yeah.
So Ramirez approached them and said, hey, we'll follow me. I know where it is. I know where to look for it. So then again, 9-year-old girl. At this point, he's 24 years old. Beats her, strangles her, rapes her, and then stabs her to death with a switchblade.
Jeez.
He took her partially nude body and hung it from a pipe by her blouse. And again, this wasn't linked until long after, a decade and a half, two and a half decades, 2.5 decades after this thing happened.
And I think I heard, I don't know if it says anything, and it might not be factual, but I thought I heard that the way he kind of strung her up was almost in a crucifix type way.
Like a Christ on the cross.
Yeah, almost having a religious kind of.
Now, was that anything similar to a Magic Money Mike, his cousin, and what he showed him in the photographs?
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Look at
Maybe
this.
he was practicing what he saw.
History is repeating
Or did he
itself.
do the Christ thing as like a satanic?
Well, no, I would say that he's probably mimicking his cousin and what he saw in the pictures.
Yeah.
And the pictures could have been that from his cousin. We don't know.
we don't know.
What they were in the Polaroids.
He sees this Eastern Asian young American girl, Eastern Asian girl,
Yep.
whatever descent. I can't even do it anymore. This looks a lot like the pictures.
And it's somebody that small he could control.
Yes, very
and he
easy.
can manipulate. And his cousin probably did the same thing with little kids.
Yeah. When he was in Vietnam.
So now he's triggered and finds out what he likes. He just fed the beast, and the beast is out.
And it seems like a lot of these Asian women, not that it was the area that he was in that we talked about, Ron and I said earlier, that became
His favorite MO.
Yes,
That's his favorite
that
meal.
was his, good way to put it.
And what date was that?
So that was, again, while linked well after his spree was done. This was his first one. This was on April 10th, 1984.
Because his notoriety wasn't San Francisco yet. It was only the Los Angeles
LA.
area.
Okay.
It's amazing. I don't even want to say amazing. That's the wrong word, but it's very interesting that his notoriety, the actual spree, and I'm talking like the Night Stalker, one after another after another.
Yes, he was back to back.
That was a year later. That happens a year after this.
That we know of.
that we know of. But we do know that in the meantime, after he killed this girl on April 10th, 1984, 2.5 months later, on June 28th, 1984, he gets a hold of Jenny Vincow. I'm not sure where this was at.
That's at Glassell Park.
Glassell Park, LA.
Los Angeles.
Yes. Are you familiar with that area? Familiar with that area?
That's a smaller, I think it's a lower, suburbs, lower income area.
Gotcha.
Well, this poor woman, this 79-year-old woman, she's just asleep in her bed at night.
Also, you see between a 9-year-old girl and a 79-year-old woman.
Control.
Again, easily
Overpower.
controlled.
Easily
He doesn't
overpower
want
and control.
Yeah, he doesn't want confrontation, or he doesn't want. Because he wasn't. They said he wasn't a big.
At this time, no, because he's all cracked out. He's all on the drugs. He's probably skinny.
Slight
there.
build and all that. Yeah,
He can't eat no meat.
Looking for a cheeseburger with no cheeseburger.
No cheeseburger.
Right. So
no teeth.
Why could? Oh, makes sense.
Makes sense. Right.
So he did. Okay, that's fair. Although I think he was later identified as having like real gap teeth. Like he might have had 2 or 3.
They were all cavitied up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So most people that have cavities have a lot of pain when they chew.
Yeah.
What do they
Meat's
have
not on the
impacted?
menu.
Yeah.
He was gnawing at stuff. Soft foods.
So he broke into this 79-year-old woman's house, stabbed her in the head and the neck and the chest while she was sleeping. And then he ended up stabbing her in the throat so deeply that he almost decapitated her.
Wow.
And that's a lot of power.
Yeah. But he again, from the photos, maybe he did try the decapitation.
I wonder.
And maybe wasn't able to, because of his cracked out body, wasn't able to actually saw through.
Yeah, the strength. Yeah.
Especially with like a kitchen knife, you're not going to cut through the.
Yeah.
But I think that was an attempt to get some of those pictures back.
Well, so now hearkening back to what you had mentioned, though, Matt. Now this one,
Stinky.
This one, this murder of Jenny Vincow was what established what would later become his day after day after day pattern of breaking into houses, performing vicious murders, burglarizing, stealing from his victims so he could feed his drug habit.
But he stalked them first, though. Remember, he stalked them. They said he watched out and stalked them.
You don't get the name Night Stalker without stalking.
Yes.
You know, this is what really starts to set in motion his MO.
Yes.
Right.
This now becomes classic textbook, the Night Stalker.
Yes, the Night Stalker has arrived.
That's right, and that's right. And as you had said, this was after he had stalked his victims.
Correct.
He puts the stalker in Night Stalker.
Yes. So typically, he's going to know what he has to do, who most of his subjects or targets, and how to get it. Now, I did read that when he lived in Texas as a kid, he used to like to hunt and go out hunting on his own.
Dave told me that earlier, and I didn't read much about that. I know his uncle, I guess, taught him or whatever.
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, he was a hunter. So these are his skill sets. It could be what he told, after incarcerated, that this is what he did. But I think he left a lot of information out when he confessed his things and how he did it or why he did it.
Okay.
I think he tried to still keep a man code or something, even though he's a sick dude.
So you think he wasn't like a lot of the serial killers we cover, like afterwards they start just making up murders or saying they killed?
Are they saying everything that they do? Just like the young girl, he didn't admit to the young girl. They found DNA on the young girl.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Dave?
There was one that in the documentary, if you watch after he's captured, that one of the San Francisco detectives, and during the trial, I don't know if they were
Salerno or
it wasn't one of them. It was one of the San Francisco detectives.
Oh, when they were out there.
He said that when they had him in the car, while they were in the car with him, he said he named the name of 2 victims that were not included in. He's like, "Wouldn't you like to know?" or something along the lines like I did that. Like basically telling them, like, here's one you didn't even know about. You've probably been looking for who did it. It was me. I did it. So they were saying there's so many victims that probably weren't even included that he was responsible for. Yeah,
because at this point he's just slashing and dashing, man. He's just going in and getting the kill.
Right.
Brazenly. You know what I mean? You got to think about that. That takes a lot of loot.
And he's definitely getting the loot.
Well, he's trying to get loot. He doesn't get it all the time.
Man.
This is a rough time. Don't forget now, 84, 85, the economy's in the tankers. I know you guys are probably not even born yet, but the economy was in a tanker at this time.
We were like 10.
10, yeah. 10,
yeah, so you guys weren't thinking about money.
No.
But yeah,
we were.
Reaganomics were kicking in.
We were only slowly getting out of the Jimmy Carter years.
Yep, Reaganomics were starting to kick in.
Into voodoo.
The decimation that Jimmy Carter did to our economy.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And this is when the crack was going wild, actually. This is when the crack was just starting in L.A. and going nuts.
Okay.
Actually, this is I believe the Olympics, the year of the Olympics in LA, 84.
84. Yeah, the 84 Olympics.
84 Olympics. And
Mary Lou Retton.
yes, which the police were in heavy. Like, it was very different because there was so much security and stuff as far as
But weren't they
LAPD.
saying there was good times in LA around where the Olympics were? Wasn't that like LA? There was like.
Okay, they always paint a pretty picture, but it always brings in a lot of junk.
Just like the Super Bowl. They said during the Super Bowl, they had like, because they had the Super Bowl in LA, they had the homeless tents and all that. They cleaned out the whole area.
They pushed them away.
To make it look, the imagery look
Yeah, they
good.
probably came in like a bulldozer and just.
And remember, in the 80s, they didn't worry about the cameras or the media or the social media, so they just did what they wanted to do.
The same thing happened in the most recent Olympics over in China or Japan or one of those two. You could see Olympic Park, but then when the helicopter went up high enough and you looked around, it was awful. Like, it was absolutely awful.
It was bad. That's crazy.
Man, I crushed so hard on Mary Lou Retton. Like, I did.
Yeah.
Like,
What's that mean?
I loved that girl.
Crushed on her?
Like,
I
right
loved that girl.
Not crushing it, but
I
like
had
have
a crush on her. I crushed
like digging
on
her.
I had a crush on her.
Like, thought she was hot.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay. It must be an East Coast thing.
Found out, got a crush on you.
You don't know what crush is?
Not crushing on. That was like some type of sexual act.
No, just like you got a crush on somebody, like crushing
Like
on
crushing.
You're missing a couple words.
That
Okay, it's all good.
What was like LA like hitting skins? Like what'd you guys have?
No, that's sexual.
That's what you just said. Kind of a sexual thing.
I thought crushing on was. I'm saying
That's
like
what I'm
LA,
saying, yeah.
you had the hots for her. You thought she was hot. You know,
hot. Oh,
that's what.
Yeah,
That's
she
what
was
crush
good
is.
looking.
yeah, that's what crush
Yeah,
is.
crushing.
Okay, crushing.
So a girl's hot, but we had a crush. Actually, ours sounds kind of weak.
Yeah, I'm
Like
crushing on her.
I
What's
had a
that
crush.
mean?
Had a crush on her.
Yeah.
But what's like sex then? Like what was
Hitting it, you know,
Hitting it? Okay.
getting them skins.
skins? That's
Yeah.
we would use that here.
Smash.
Get the raps.
Smash. You ever say that?
Smashing.
You guys were smashing shit.
Smash. What's the haps on
Tapping
the
the
raps? No,
Tapping?
raps. Tapping that ass.
See, those are from LA
God.
references.
Here it
Okay.
goes. Here it goes. This is just bad.
Where we're getting off. We're talking about the serial killer.
And off a serial killer that does this crap. This is not the time
Tapping
for
that
this.
ass.
This is
You
bad.
must be looking at those pictures his cousin had.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Meanwhile, back
Yeah,
at the ranch.
yeah.
So 9 months after the Jenny Vincow incident, the spree begins. Official, like a referee's whistle.
Like one after the other.
March 17th, 1985, Ramirez encounters Maria Hernandez.
Okay.
Now, where was this one located?
This is
Rosemead.
Rosemead.
Yep, Rosemead.
So tell us about
Is that a
that.
county?
That's LA County. It's just out in the sticks.
Okay.
Okay.
Nothing too popular.
Gotcha.
Upper middle class.
Well, all right. This poor girl. So he's got a habit to feed.
Look at the familiarity here in a second.
He's been stalking this one.
Stalking.
And just as she pulls into her garage, he comes up, shoots her right in the face with a .22 caliber handgun. Now, check this out. Check out this act of God. This chick, as this guy has a gun pointed at her and shoots her, as anyone is going to do, they put their hands up or they try to put their head down or whatever. She has her house keys in her hands. She pulls her hands up. The bullet ricochets off of the goddamn keys. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
And in the Netflix series, they show the actual. Did you see
key.
that? The
Yeah, I
key,
did see
and it
that.
just has
Oh,
like
really?
this. Yeah, like the
Yes.
smear off it. It's crazy.
And I would imagine because it's a smaller caliber gun.
With
to
the
be
22.
able to-
It's 22
Got a little
caliber.
pellet gun.
Yeah. You can plink 22s all day.
Right.
So this one, smart girl, plays possum, just plays dead until Ramirez robs her, robs the house. You know, does whatever
Keep going.
whatever he can get in the house, and that's it. So he leaves.
No, hold up.
She survives.
Hang on
She
a second.
survives.
She's
What
a
about her
survivor.
roommate?
But who didn't?
Her roommate.
Dale.
She stuck around, and she stuck around until he left the scene. In the meantime, victim number 2, same day, same time, same location, her roommate, Dale Okazaki.
Okay. Another Asian person.
Same house.
So this is while Maria is playing possum in the car, knowing that Ramirez is in the house trying to ransack the place, trying to get whatever he can. He goes into the house and he finds Dale Okazaki, who heard the gunshot from the garage, ducked behind the counter when she saw Ramirez enter the kitchen. She looks up raises her head just to get a look to see what happened. Gets a bullet right to the forehead, dies immediately. Instant death.
Right.
Headshot.
So here in Rosemead, you have one survivor, Hernandez, and Okasaki,
Dead as fried chicken.
dead.
Well, they did reference one thing that with both of these, that for him, they were thinking that he likes to see the fear in their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So for the first girl with the keys, when he came in the garage, it was like half closed. I guess there was like a gap that he was able to sneak underneath. He could have went up behind her and shot her in the back of the head,
But he
and
wanted
been
to
done
see
with
her.
it. He taps on the car to get her attention. Then she turns around
And there's
and he
Then he
he
tries to
sees
shoot
that look. He gets that.
foreshadowing with the eyes.
Yeah,
Later.
It feeds. Exactly.
Feeds his urge.
When he goes in, and the girl Gail that's in the
Dale.
town, or I'm sorry, yeah, Dale. I'm sorry, Dale goes in there. Her hands are on the counter, and he can see that her hands are there, and she has to come up at some point to see. And he waits for her to come up so he can look her in the eye and then shoot her. So they're basically saying like he feeds off of that fear that he would see in their eyes.
He learned that from Satan.
Or maybe he was just a good shot and he wanted to see how good.
Maybe, but
He
Was
learned
that
from
little
a green.
Pop Goes the Weasel?
Maybe he learned it from a Green Beret.
Yep, he did.
yeah.
But they were saying too, he was very he would like to hang around. I don't know if you guys read much of that. He would hang around, like eat food. Like,
Well, hang in there. Enjoy it.
yeah, take
He didn't
snacks.
care.
He'd look
Yeah.
like walk around the dead bodies, check things out, steal some things, try stuff on. Like very.
Eat soft foods.
Very
yogurt.
Yes.
Well, there was a lot of like I think cantaloupes and stuff. I mean, we'll get into that, but he would leave like a lot of fruits around, bananas.
Mm-hmm.
Make himself at home, basically.
As if two weren't enough that day. As if two were not enough. Dude's got to get the hell out of there. Same day, not far away, he runs into, this is after he's fled the scene. He comes upon Veronica Yu,
Another Asian woman,
Another Asian.
another Asian.
and this is in Monterey Park.
Not too far, but a nice suburb.
Nice
upper
suburb.
scale.
Now, how far
is that from the
Yes.
previous?
It depends on traffic, but it could be anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes maybe
In
So
a
do you-
car.
by car.
Do you think he was? Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Was he walking to these places, or was he traveling by car?
I got to believe
I thought he had a stolen car
did
that he
he?
was using.
He was always stealing
He was-
cars.
he was okay. Stealing cars.
That
cars.
makes sense then.
All right.
Yeah. Because I know I read a couple of times that he had stolen this car. Then again, he had stolen a car.
Yes.
And I wasn't sure if it was just one car or no, it certainly
I
wasn't.
think he was stealing cars because back then, there wasn't much to a car.
was Grand Theft
yeah,
Auto.
it was screwdriver in the
Yep.
ignition, turn the key, and it goes.
There was a certain model, not certain model, but there were specific models of cars that they said car thieves were able to take any key and kind of file it down and trick the ignition system.
Wow.
And there was like a group of different cars. Toyota Celica was one of them. Celica, the Corolla, and there was a couple other models that it was real easy. And he would use this key. It was like a master key on any of these cars, and that's how he's able to basically steal these cars. You could trick the ignition system by just shaving it down thin enough, and that's how he was doing it, basically.
80s were a crazy time.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was.
Specific year and make between 70-something and 80-something or whatever, he knew to look for these cars. So, anyway.
No, that's a great fun
Yeah, good
fact.
point.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome. So either by foot or by stolen car, he makes his way to Veronica Yu, another Eastern Asian American.
Mm-hmm.
Same day. This is the same day.
Couple hours later.
March 17th, a couple hours later. Carjacks her. After those previous two one successful, one attempted murder. This one shot twice with a .22 handgun. Dead. Gone. And he's got himself a new car.
Now, is this the girl that I think he was following her on the highway or something like that?
Could very well have been.
And then he got off and she was following him.
Yes, she got mad.
She got pissed,
She
and
got,
she
she
was
got
like-
mad and started following
yeah,
him back
and she was
got a bad lesson.
Confronting him, like, why are you following? I'm not following you, this and that. And it got into like an heated argument. She was like, pissed off. She basically followed him off the exit and everything. And I'm pretty sure this is the one.
This is what I get for missing the Netflix series.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, they go into a lot of detail on that. And it's, like I said, it's really, really good. Definitely check out The Night Stalker on Netflix. But this girl here was not having any of it. Like, she could have just let it go.
This is why you don't follow people that
Right.
piss you off
No,
in your
for
car
sure.
because you don't know what's coming.
not
next.
even. Yeah, today is
Even
not
worse.
Not a good time to do it.
Yep.
Yeah, he got in the car passenger seat, I think, and shot her up. And then,
as Ron was saying earlier, and he stated he was a night stalker. He was a hunter. So, I mean, we're not saying a lot of these women, too, like he's out during the day walking around because he didn't have nothing to do. He's a crackhead.
Yep. Right.
And then he spots these women, and I think he, you know, and then
fantasizes. And
the thoughts start. And then he's like, okay, I can stay away, walk around, see where they're at. You know, he parks the car somewhere that...
Well, that Maria Hernandez, he followed her off the highway as well.
Right.
Like he would just go on this highway, see something he liked, and then see where they live, basically find them, and that was that.
So I'm thinking with you, he might have been stalking her, like she might have been his next victim. Like he was following her around to actually try to get
because he saw her from like walking around,
right.
and then he's like, he knew what car she had,
and she
like,
might have noticed and been like, that dude's been following me all day.
Oh, yes,
and then like, oh, I'm gonna find out who he is. And little did she know, surprise.
The hunter has become the hunted, has become the hunter again.
Right.
The prey is down.
It's wild. Well, with that now out of the way, 10 days later, March 27th, 1985, Richard makes his way into Vincent and Maxine Zazzara's home.
Now, is this the first male-female couple?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, this is the first couple.
All right.
Couple attack as well. Like
Truth.
it's not by accident, it's on purpose.
On purpose.
So this what they say for location. It says unincorporated area north of Whittier.
Whittier, California. That's
Okay.
like the outskirts of LA County.
Okay.
Another thing, he's on the outer border of LA County. So he's like almost in the Riverside County. He's like way out in like, it's almost like the desert or outskirts.
Yeah, why are they saying unincorporated? So he's going out more towards away from like
the center,
taking an
the
hour
center
drive or something.
It's just to the outskirts of it, like Perry County or something like
All
that.
right.
I got you. But
So it's
even
in
on
the
a
sticks.
grander scale, because LA is so huge, I mean, you could just be.
LA's not huge. It's just very dense.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
like
Everything's
all of this
packed
stuff
tight.
Oh, so square mile wise, it's not like as big as you would think. Like just a lot of people in that area is what you're saying.
Ton of people in that area. It is
gotcha.
packed.
I
Like
gotcha.
you don't have yards. Everybody's like butted up against each other.
Just properties on top of you. I got you. Okay.
Unincorporated LA.
Yes.
County.
Whittier, part of Whittier, just the north part of Whittier that's unincorporated.
Gotcha.
So he comes to the home of Vincent Maxine Zazzara, breaks into their house, sees Vincent while he's sleeping, pop, gunshot to the head, he gone.
Right.
He's dead. Wife sees this happening or hears this happening. She's waking up, screaming her mind out, doing whatever. She ends up getting beaten and bound. However, she escaped her bondage while he's, searching through the house, ransacking, do whatever he's doing. She finds a shotgun. Alas, it's not loaded.
Yep.
Now, here's rule number one. You're going to point a gun at somebody with a threat, you better for damn sure have a bullet in there to make it worthwhile.
You're talking 1985.
Well,
They had bullets back then.
Yes,
Well, according to them, Vincent took the ammunition out of the gun, and she didn't know that because I think they had a previous domestic dispute.
Dear Lord.
So, because she threatened Vincent with the firearm, he disarmed it. She didn't know that.
Damn.
That's why she pumped and was ready to shoot.
But you see,
Damn.
when we these true crimes and we listen to all this, and it's crazy that these people could have been stopped.
Yes,
Like
so close. They have
so
a lot of,
close,
They
and
got
it's
like
like
luck or fortune on their side.
But then you're saying like this guy, like a satanic dude, who's looking out?
what is looking out for
Yeah,
him?
what is preventing these people or letting these people go this long? Just something like that, like boom, could have been done, could have saved all the rest of those people, and it just wasn't meant to be.
Well, damn shame that old Vinny took out that shotgun shell because it didn't work out so well for old Maxine.
Nope.
So he hears the gun go click, but he's got bullets in his gun. So he ends up shooting his poor woman 3 times, then stabs her countless times with a kitchen knife.
Was it also the 22?
So she's dead.
Yes.
It was in fact the ballistics on that were a 22.
Yes, because he switches up.
He does.
Yep.
Down the road.
Thank you for the clarification.
He has his way with their dead, I thought.
He has his way with her dead ass body, and he cuts out her eyeballs.
That's
To
the
teach her a
one.
lesson.
Yeah.
He cuts out her eyeballs, puts her eyeballs into her jewelry box. Then when he leaves, he takes the jewelry box with him.
Trophy.
He ended up hanging on to that jewelry box until he was arrested. Like he had that for the rest of
For the whole time.
for the whole basically for the year.
Maybe good luck. because the shotgun didn't go off. So he thinks that when he saw something in her eyes, that it was good luck.
Interesting fact.
Maybe, yeah. That's what I was wondering, what the symbolism or what he saw, and
Because she didn't have the fear in her eyes.
Did you ever hear that people say that there was people that used to believe your eyes? I actually used to do this.
Gateway to your soul?
No, for investigations and stuff back in the day, that your eyes would, the last thing you would see.
Oh, be imprinted
in your eye.
Yeah.
And they were actually taking people's eyes and trying to like.
I think that was a movie, wasn't it?
No, I mean, it was actually, might have been in a movie, but
you're thinking Minority Report.
Something like
that. But no, this was actually something
cat's
that
eye.
early, I'm talking about back in the day. I'll have to look it up then. Maybe the next episode.
Off the retina?
This is going to be 2 parts, by the way.
Off the retina.
For sure. But I'm thinking in the next one, I'm going to look that up because there was something about the eyes and something about when there's a traumatic event or death that they will ingrain that image. And they were hoping maybe you'd see the image of the person with Jack the Ripper. That was the one. With Jack the Ripper, they were thinking that because sometimes it would take the eyes because they believed that.
Okay.
I thought they used to put the coins on the eyes.
They did, so they couldn't.
Well, that too. That was so you could pay a toll or whatever. But there was something else with that. But we'll get into that in the next one.
But Richard liked to see the fear in their eyes, and this woman didn't have fear because if you're pumping a shotgun and about to blast them, you're right. Pissed.
Yeah,
and you're angry.
She was saying, "I got you," but then the fear after,
she squeezed the trigger, and she was probably like, "Oh shoot!" And then he's like, "I'm gonna shoot," and then popped him in her.
Yeah.
So he's probably laughing, going, "Oh, I got you."
But can you imagine him too? Like, yeah, wow,
Satan saved his life.
Yep, I think he did believe that in a lot of these cases.
Jesus, or should I say
no, Satan?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then he started going on his tangent. You know what I mean? He's doing all this physical, it doesn't say that he had any type of sexual relations with the earlier victims, but this one here definitely says he did after she was.
That's because of the eyes, I think. Yeah.
Well, I think he's in a rage. I think when he gets mad and rage, he's going to teach her a lesson.
And he did.
And again, this is also a 2-parter, ladies and gentlemen.
Not even there yet. We were going to surprise him at the end.
It's now 12 a.m. in California.
I thought we were going to...
3 a.m. here on the East Coast.
I thought we were going to get through a couple and then finally say, hey, look, man, we're going to cut these murders off here for a second. This is too much. We should turn this into 2 parts.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll do that.
It doesn't matter. We'll get there.
Okay.
Well, so after the March 27th murder, a month and a half later, on May 14th, 1985, he runs into Bill and his wife, Lillian Doy, in their house.
He's liking the couples now. He enjoyed
I'm curious
the
of
first.
that last name.
That's D-O-I.
Sounds Asian to me.
Sounds Eastern Asian to me as well.
And he's back in Monterey Park.
So Monterey Park.
Yeah, the Zazara couple might be the first I don't know, but non-Asian couple that the name at least.
Hey, look, man, when you need that fix, you don't care what the last name is.
I think he went for them for something else.
Exactly.
The first couple, I think he went in to rob or get money or something like that because they were out in the sticks. So maybe he was going for a money score.
Yeah, because that wasn't normal for him.
Or if they're out in the sticks, there's less people looking around.
That's what I'm saying. A money run. He came in and killed right out the gate.
Figuring they'd have more out there.
Or money.
Yeah, more money.
And just go for the robbery.
Dave has something here.
Yeah, so back to what I was talking about. I looked it up. Yeah, so we don't have to wait till
He's excited.
Yeah,
he's got news.
Yeah. It's called optography, yes. So it's the belief that the retina would store an image. And like I said, that was something in the Victorian era. The police investigators used that. Mary Jane Kelly, who was one of the victims of Jack the Ripper, they actually used that. They tried to use their eyeballs and take them out and see if they could get the image off of there. It was a belief that investigators could use that.
So did it work?
It doesn't work. No.
Okay.
It was just something they
I was hoping.
Yeah. It was just something that they thought if it was traumatic enough that your eye would record it'd burn in there. Yeah, but no fact to it. Anyway.
Back to the Doys.
Yeah.
Yeah, so back to poor Bill and Lillian. True to form, stalked them, broke into their house, shot Bill in the face, then beat him unconscious.
Jeez.
Then bound his wife Lillian with thumb cuffs, and then
I did hear that.
And then raped her, and raped her, and raped her.
Does it say how old these two are?
I don't have that information.
I was just curious.
I don't have it, but
if it was an older couple or a younger one.
What I do know is that Bill died and Lillian survived.
Bill was 66. Lillian was 56. So
young enough to fight, probably.
Sure.
Yeah.
But this man, he used handguns, tire irons, claw hammers, pistols, strangulation, ligatures, thumb cuffs.
I don't know if her living is surviving. I don't know if I'd want to survive that.
No, certainly not. I wouldn't want to survive that either.
No. Well, I don't know if I was the one.
Zap's holding on to something.
No, I'm not. I can't. I'm not. I'm good.
No,
Is it the optography again?
What is a ligature?
or I'm sorry, I thought you were saying that. Yeah, a ligature, something to strangulation.
Something to strangulation?
No, isn't it
It's
a ligature?
It's isn't a mark, a ligature mark.
I thought it was a part of your body.
I
Isn't it a
don't
part of
know.
your body?
I would just love to know what a ligature is.
I thought I've heard it as a ligature mark where somebody strangles you.
Strangulation,
and there's
yeah.
marks on the neck.
I thought it was the vessels within your ligatures within your body.
It could be. It could be.
Hold on one second.
Okay, get to Google.
What did they do? Like when they had to write stuff and they didn't know what it was, they just faked it. Remember?
We got facts here. This is
A thing used for tying or binding something tightly. There was no sign of the ligature which strangled her.
Okay, thank you. I didn't know what a ligature was.
Word up.
Yeah.
where'd that word go?
Up.
All right.
Yeah.
That's the code word.
Who was that? That was
a cameo.
Cameo.
Yeah.
It's a
Word
song.
up.
There you go.
Everybody. That's my jam. Okay, continue.
So,
Ligature.
2 weeks later after the ligature, on May 29th, 1985, good old Ricky makes his way to Mabel Bell and her sister Florence Lang. So,
Monrovia.
Do you notice it's like every 10 days?
I mean, you know, you're going to run out of money.
Well, he's spreading out like almost every 10 days, and then he's going to. I wonder if he has a pattern that he's following.
Yeah.
I think there's the pattern's just dictated by the need.
The need?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think he's seen these two older women. This was a mark.
Mm-hmm.
Could
Could
be.
be, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're at Ma Bell and her sister Florence Nettie Lang.
I mean, you can just tell
Lang.
these are older women.
Yeah.
Monrovia, that's a upper class neighborhood. He's
Okay.
going to more expensive neighborhoods too. So he's trying to score.
Yeah, older women. He spotted them probably walking together.
But he's going for the money. I think.
Yeah.
I think this was a house though too. Is this the one they said sat way back, kind of off the road? It was more desolate, like the house itself. I think it sat back and it wasn't out like on a main street, basically.
If you say
Yeah, I think this is the one that because they didn't get discovered then for a couple of days.
that, now that's true.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true. So Florence Lang, first, she was bound and then bludgeoned with a hammer, raped, and then dude took her lipstick, drew a pentagram on her thigh and on the walls of her bedroom.
And that was the first time, correct?
That was the first time he did the pentagram stuff. He started to he started to illustrate
embellishing all this Satanism.
Amazingly survived. Amazingly. However, Mabel,
Ma Bell, ill communications.
her sister, alas, same way, was bound and bludgeoned with a hammer and then was shocked with an electrical
Yes.
cord.
Pulled the clock out of the.
Yeah.
So he pulled the clock off of the cable. So you got the plug in the wall that's going to a cable with nothing to release that to use
voltage.
that juice, and he's just shocking the shit out of this woman.
It's crazy.
Dude, unbelievable.
Did she pass out and he's trying to resuscitate her or something?
That I think might be something else, but I know that
Bell died. Florence
I
did
know
not.
that Bell died
Later on.
Later on.
later on. But wait a second, now I'm reminded of something. What was it? Yeah, there was something with that.
Oh, the sparks, the blue sparks.
That's it. No, that's a different one.
Okay.
That's coming.
Okay.
That is not this one.
I
Thank you
didn't
for the
know this.
reminder.
Okay, go
Thank you.
ahead.
That's a much later one, and I don't even know if we'll have time to get to this one because we're getting into a serious dude here, man. I think this does require 2 parts.
Well, this is probably going to be the last one of this first part, but I think this one too, when he pulled the cord out of it was like a alarm clock, I believe, or something like that he left his notorious shoe print.
Via.
The
Avia.
Avia.
Yeah, that we're going
running
to probably
shoe.
get into a lot in the next one. But on this clock, because he had to push the clock down on the ground with his foot and pull to get the cord, if you can envision that, he left a partial footprint
Was that the first one?
I don't know if that was the first one, but that was one of the prints that they started connecting all these.
Yes, and
like,
they started looking for this shoe. It was the shoe.
Well, this guy, there were the two detectives that, if you watch the documentary, that they came together and were working on this. And I forget if it was one or the other. It was like
there was one Mexican guy and the Italian Salerno.
Salerno, yeah. And one of them, I forget which one now off the top of my head, but one was like, I think it's the same guy. And the other one was like, they weren't sure until they got this shoe print and connecting the things. On top of that, at the same time, I think all this is going on. Is that when all those rapes are going on as well of children and stuff like that?
Oh, I can't speak to that.
Yeah, there was like rape. 6-year-old girl got abducted, raped, then released. Not killed. He was abducting these children, raping them, and then releasing them. And this was all going on. They had a serial rapist and they had a serial murderer. And they're starting to put, I think, everything together. Like this might be the
muddy
same.
in the water.
Yeah.
It was muddy in the water up.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot to get into in the next part of this. I mean, there's just so many. It's much like the Dahmer.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much just.
But the two main cops that were on the case was Carrillo and Salerno.
Salerno, yeah.
Mm-hmm. LA PD detectives.
Didn't Carrillo live in the area?
He did because he
told his wife. He was worried about his wife.
Yes, he was worried about his wife. He had the kids, 3 young kids, I think 7, 9, and 12.
He did, and the Maria Hernandez and the Dale Okazaki, I think that was the one that he actually knew. Like the mother or something like that. Had like a personal. He heard her voice and was like, I know that voice, and so he had a personal connection and all that. So yeah, this is a lot to cover. So right there, we said both survived the attack, but Belle later would pass away
from the
Belle
injuries.
died later. Yep, from her injuries. And Belle was the one with the shock.
Right. So that's May 29th, 1985. And that's nowhere
Monrovia.
Yep.
Nowhere near the end of all this, but I think that's where we're going to cut it off for now. And we'll be back next week with the rest of this. You guys got anything else closing on the first part?
Sounds good to me.
Man, all I got to do is say tune in next time.
Tune in next time. Yeah, we got a lot more to get to.
Make sure my doors are locked tonight.
Yeah.
And listen for the next part. We're excited for it. I don't even think we should close them out on this one.
No.
Yeah, we should just say good night.
No, we got to do our ending. But at any rate, you know where to find us. Facebook and Instagram at Old Dirty Basement. And on TikTok at Old Dirty Basement Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you're at. Google, Spotify, Apple, all that good stuff. Leave us a written review on Apple. It really helps us out. And I guess that's it for now. We'll catch you where?
On the flip side.
If we don't see you sooner, we'll see you later.
Peace. Thanks for hanging out in the Old Dirty Basement. If you dig our theme music like we do, check out the Tsunami Experiment. Find them on Facebook. Their music is available streaming on Spotify and Apple, and where great music is available.
You can find us at Old Dirty Basement on Facebook and Instagram, and at Old Dirty Basement Podcast on TikTok.
Peace.
We Audi 5000.